I didn't grow up as a Christian. In fact, as a kid, I didn't even know what Christians believed in. I knew it had something to do with church and Jesus, but I didn't know what exactly it meant. And when I was about 9 or 10 years old, my parents both became drug addicts, and their addictions changed the life and the course of our family. We became very poor, and our entire household was kind of dismembered, I guess you could say. And as a result of that, me and my siblings had to live in foster care for a few years. But what changed for my family was one day, someone invited my parents to church. And someone told them about God, and told them how much God loved them, and how much God was able to fix the life and fix our family that had been lost and broken. Through my parents becoming Christian and accepting Jesus as their Savior, their life was changed dramatically. They were free from their addictions, and our family started being rebuilt. Now, me as a kid, I saw this amazing stuff happening in my parents' life, and I was thankful for God, and I believed in God. I knew there was a God out there somewhere. But for me personally, I didn't see how God connected with me as a person. After my parents became Christian, we started going to church a lot. My parents would force us to go to church every Sunday. I'd be at Wednesday night Bible studies. I'd be at Friday night youth group. If there was a church event, I was at it. And I learned really quickly how to become a really good fake Christian. I could spit out Bible verses. I could sing worship songs. I could pray out loud. I could do what it looked like for me to be a good Christian on the outside. But on the inside, my heart was far from God. And I don't think I wanted to have anything to do with God. And I remember very specifically saying a prayer, having a conversation with God, and I said, God, I'm thankful for what you've done for my parents, but I'm not ready to serve you yet. I just want to have fun. I'm young and I just want to enjoy my life. Maybe I'll serve you when I'm in my 20s or something. And that's what I chose to do. I chose to live a life about all the things that I wanted and all the things that made me happy. And that's how I continued on. Because of the way my family situation turned out, and because of our situation being really poor and growing up in an interesting, rough neighborhood, I got picked on quite a bit at school. In elementary school, I got bullied and got made fun of, got teased. So I had little to none of a self-esteem. And I was constantly looking for people and things that would make me feel better about myself. I would say anything and I would do anything to get people to like me. I carried that with me into high school. As I got into high school, I started realizing that I didn't fit in anywhere. I wasn't really good at any particular thing, so I didn't fit in anywhere. I wasn't good at sports, so I didn't fit in with the athletes. I was never good at getting good grades or studying, so I didn't fit in with the smart people. I found myself being a misfit, not really having anywhere to connect. And like in every high school, there's always that third category, and that's where I fit in, into the rebel crowd, into the group of people that chooses to live life differently, and choose to get high in between lunch breaks, and to party on weekends, and to get drunk and that sort of thing. And that's the crowd that I found myself involved with. It was the easiest way for me to find an identity, and it was the easiest way for people to like me and for me to get a group of friends. I learned pretty quickly that if I could drink lots and do a lot of drugs, that people would like me more and they would think I was really cool. So I did it more and more. I did it so much, even though I was hurting my body and I was hurting my mind, I did it a lot because I craved the attention that people were giving me. Because of the lifestyle I was choosing in high school, I started hanging out with people that were also choosing those sort of things. And I hung out with a lot of people who were older than me and who were involved with things that I never ever wanted to be involved with. I always just wanted to have fun. I didn't want to hurt anybody and I never wanted to do anything illegal. But the group of friends that I was hanging out with were doing those very things. And I ended up getting into situations where my own life was in jeopardy. I can remember one night in senior high, being with a friend in a park, and being surrounded by a group of people who were trying to jump and beat us up. They had weapons in their hands, and I remember thinking to myself that night, Alvin, you're going to die tonight. Miraculously, I wasn't touched. The friend who was with me was hurt, but I was left alone. And you'd think that'd be enough to get my attention and for me to snap out of the choices I was making, but it wasn't. And it wasn't until later on, when I was with another group of friends who were doing some illegal activity, and I happened to be with them. And as a result of the things that they had done, and as a result of me being a part of it, my name got given to the police. So the next day, police showed up at my door and started questioning me and asking me a bunch of questions about what had happened the night before. I cannot express how terrified I was. It went on, and the conversation with the police led to them saying that if their investigation continued onwards and I was found responsible or being a part of it, that I would be given a criminal record and that I could potentially, down the road sometime, depending on what their investigation concluded, potentially face jail time. I was terrified at the way my life had become. I started out just trying to get people to like me, and trying to get people's attention, and trying to find things that could make me happy, and my life was heading down a dark direction. I remember sitting one night and looking at where my life had become, and realizing that if I continued down the direction I was going, I was either going to end up dead or in jail. And I didn't want any of those things for my life. When I told God that I wanted to just have fun, that's all I wanted. I just wanted to have fun. And as I was traveling home one night on the bus, I was looking at my life and the situation that I was in, and I remember being extremely scared at what the future held for my life. And I said a prayer. I said, God, I'm sorry for the way I've lived. I need your help. See, at that point I noticed that I realized that the way I was living was not the way that God intended me to live. I was constantly doing things that hurt him and was against the plan that he had for my life. And after saying that prayer, my life did not change immediately. It's not like everything got better overnight. But gradually, God started doing some amazing things in my heart and in my life. I was slowly able to let go a lot of the friends and a lot of the people I was hanging out with, and let go some of the lifestyle choices I was making. And God eventually worked out the situation that I was in trouble with, to where I was able to not be in trouble or anything like that. And as I look back at my life at that point, I realized that everything I had done, all the decisions I had made, were just to fill myself with happiness. I would do anything to get people to like me, whether it mean hurting myself or putting myself in a situation that could potentially lead to my life being jeopardized. As time went on, I started to learn what it meant to be a real Christian, what it meant to actually love God and serve God with my heart and not just with my lips. And God started doing some amazing things in my life. And around the same time, I started dating someone who wasn't a Christian. I started being involved in a relationship with someone who wasn't a Christian. And I remember constantly hearing from my friends who were Christian, constantly hearing the same thing over and over again. Alvin, you shouldn't be dating her. You guys are very different. Your values don't line up. And I thought to myself, you guys are crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. It doesn't really matter what faith has to do with it. As long as they're a nice, a kind person, a good heart, and giving, that's all that really matters. And it wasn't until years and years of being in this relationship that I noticed how different we actually were. And I was amazed at the fact that how my faith was being restricted by this relationship. I noticed that I couldn't serve God the way I wanted to serve God, and my view of God and the way I wanted to express myself and my love for Him couldn't be done in this relationship. So last year, I had to make a very hard decision, which was hard to do, but I had to do it because I felt like it was what God was leading me towards, and that was to end that relationship. And I felt as though God was telling me, Alvin, you need to stop trying to find yourself in all these different things. See, my whole life I was trying to find people to like me, find people to give me worth, find people to give me value. And I found it in this relationship, someone who cared for me deeply. And so to let that go was really hard for me. But God opened my eyes and opened my heart to see how much more He loves me than any of those things could. Through my life and through my journey of becoming a Christian, I've been able to see how amazing God is and how much His love is just overwhelming. I've been able to see how all the things that I chased for just left me empty in the end. It doesn't matter how drunk I got, no matter how many drugs I did, no matter who I hung out with, no matter what kind of people I was hanging out with, all those things left me empty and left me wanting more and more and more. But when I met Jesus, I realized that I didn't have to do anything, that Jesus accepted me the way I was, and that my worth and my value wasn't found in what I did for him, but in the fact that he was just him. So my name is Alvin Ram, and I'm psyched.